Not only is it clear that the origin of music predates this world and came from heaven and was taught to man, and that music exists in heaven as a big part of their society, the harp is specifically mentioned as one of the only instruments biblically mentioned as existing in heaven. If you think about music today and how it's being used, and the type of frequencies being used, well, I think you already know. I've always wanted to tap into those origin, ancient, heavenly sounds like the harp and other things that exist in heaven. Really quick, fascinating rabbit hole about the harp, and it's clear that spirits react to frequency and sound, specifically music and the harp. If you know the story about King David and Saul, that's clear, that every time Saul was basically demon-possessed or being tormented or oppressed by spirits, that he sent for King David, who was anointed, to come play, and when he played with the harp, the spirits would leave. So aside from the anointing, there are frequencies that make spirits leave, and there's also frequencies that attract spirits, which again tying that back into modern day music. Aside from string theory pun, ancient harps can actually be tuned to the Aleph bet, Aleph through Tav, and you can actually make the harp speak with certain frequencies. Interesting things can happen, like miracles, which by the way, the Spirit of God is enough for. Music as a heavenly science technology is a fascinating thought. Tons of old world and ancient pictures of angels with harps. Does the frequency, the zing of the string, carry some sort of secret power that we don't know about, especially when made from certain materials, arranged in a certain way, tuned a certain way, or having the knowledge or science of how to play these things, making it become alive basically. Also, you can go in your own study about how the harp helps you absorb more oxygen and other health related things about when you just listening to the harp music, it does good things for you basically. Aside from just calming and all sorts of other emotional property states as well. That interaction between spirits and sound, sort of like a frequency Morse code, is an interesting thought, and has spiritual interactions with our sacred energy centers. The mind, organs, everything, kind of like an audio sigil, forming a response, probably at the genetic and DNA levels as well possibly. Frequencies, letting spirits in, witchcraft. Pay attention to how music makes you feel. Also, like I said, it's no coincidence that certain music makes you feel a certain way. Pavlovian dog sound training. Tie it back into the biblical thought of King Nebuchadnezzar, and he had the sounds that when certain instruments would play, everyone was Pavlovian trained to instantly come and worship. When they hear the sounds of the bell and the other music, they would just have to come and instantly worship. It would put them into a hive mind worship state. Modern sounds of music are probably the same way, putting you in a certain state. Especially when there's curses placed on them with rituals done in the studio, literally on the master recordings that sound created everything. This entire realm was created by sound. Everything responds to sound. If you know the certain sounds to make, it's kind of like codes in the Matrix, hacks that you can do into this reality. A lot of that knowledge is hidden. And a lot of them are encoded with ancient sounds and syllables that a lot of us don't know. But everything reacts to sound. The human body, plants growing, and even the appliances in your house make frequency noises, and even tons of frequencies that you can't hear all the time that are affecting you in different ways depending on where you are. It's a big part of the Matrix. And finally enclosed, the Jericho walls were shattered by sound frequency, obviously by the Spirit of God, who had an interesting war strategy, but frequency is what brought the walls down. Also, Jericho possibly being the oldest city, was it a star fort? Jericho possibly being a star fort is an interesting thought, and also star forts in general and why they were arranged that way seems to tap into ley lines and spiritual ley lines, which I'll be coming back to in the future. Enclosed, just like the Jericho walls, make sure you break through, guard your frequency, and don't let anything stop you on your quest from taking the city and remembering God in all things you do. Be mindful of the eternal. See you next time, Savage Truth.